Are you struggling to find your groove on Twitter? Well, in this video, I want to share with you some of the apps that I use to make your Twitter life more simple. Now, you might be wondering why Twitter? Why are you so set on getting us to use Twitter? Well, if you're a content creator, remember that Twitter has 330 million users. So there's a lot of opportunity there for you to connect with your audience. And Twitter is really become such a mainstream app. Like we hear about tweets on the news, wherever we turn, you see them in other publications. So Twitter is referenced even on people's websites. It's easy to put a Twitter widget on your website because Twitter has really just become part of our mainstream day of life, way of life. And I love that Twitter has so many different formats and tools that we can use. These are built in tools now that I'm talking about, where you can use social audio, which is your Twitter spaces. You can create newsletters. You can monetize your Twitter. And yes, don't we all want to have another way or another option that people can show appreciation for the content that we are providing? And so Twitter kind of covers all bases. You can do video, you can live stream on Twitter. I'm actually live streaming on Twitter right now. Um, and it's a great way as a content creator for you to promote your content. Now, there are thousands, literally thousands of Twitter apps. I'm not going to really talk that much about scheduling apps today. I just want to talk about some apps that, and as we go along, my little list that I have here, and it's not that long of a list, but as we go through this list, please post any questions that you have. Like my friend Doug Houston YT is here. He love me some Twitter. And yes, as a YouTuber, it is really important that you have a presence on Twitter. People are coming over to your YouTube channel page and they're seeing all the different little icons that you have there. And if they're a Twitter power user like myself and my friend Doug Houston YT, we're going to be disappointed if we don't see that you're on Twitter. And so once you get on there, then you're going to have a couple of things that you may be challenged with. All right. So, but before we even get into that, and I was just talking about how mainstream Twitter is, let me give you an example, even on the other platforms that are keen to integrate with Twitter. So, for example, on any web page, if you use the Chrome browser, which I highly recommend, let me just do a little screen share. So, I want you to see something. On the Chrome browser, from the top of the page, you see a little share icon in what's called the Omni box. And you'll see there that you can even share directly from Chrome, any web page, any website that you're on, you can use that little share option to share Twitter. So sometimes you go onto a web page and you can't find the Twitter share button. Don't worry. If you're using Chrome, you're going to be able to find it. And I also want to remind you that tweets often show up in Google searches. In fact, they almost always do if your topic is popular and is one that's being talked about. So, Twitter, yeah, you want to have a presence. So, I'm going to help you out because I don't want you to struggle. I want to get you off the Twitter struggle bus. All right. So here we go. Let's start sharing some of these apps that I kind of hand selected. I want to start with one that anybody can use, whether you're brand new, it's absolutely free. So this one is called, and let's do the screen share. This one is called What to Tweet. What to Tweet, and it's whattotweet.com. So hang on, let me get that posted in the comments. So you'll have it there. And What to Tweet simply gives you prompts. So here's the prompt. The first prompt when I land on the web page, it asks people to share something they created in the past. And I can say, show example. So here's an example. And people love to talk about themselves. So they will eat that up and they will definitely comment. All right. So let's do a new one. Share an insight from your own experience. Is there any particular book you recommend your audience to check out? So, see, these are easy prompts that get that conversation going. And also for you, when you run out of ideas, because let's face it, even sometimes I run out of, not that I run out of ideas. I have tons of ideas, and sometimes I'm like, no, baby, I won't tweet that right now. Let me just, warm folks up before I start promoting things. And the other thing that I love about Twitter is because it's so quick and so easy to use, people don't mind at all when you post links. You go on other platforms. Well, first of all, let's just talk about Instagram. You go on Instagram, you might as well forget it. You're not going to be able to post any links in your posts. You can do them in your bio. And I do have a video that talks about how you can add extra links in your bio. And, same way on LinkedIn, you can, share links every now and then. It's just not proper etiquette. It's not really it's not really looked upon, like, wow, every time I turn around, this person is sharing a link to one of their videos or one of their blog posts. Whereas with Twitter, you can do that all day long and nobody will bat an eye. So I love that about Twitter. It's quick, it's easy. And of course, you do want to go deeper. You do want to get into conversations with people. You do want to build community on Twitter. But I just want you to know that it's not frowned upon on those days when you just want to share something that you've just produced or even something from your archives. It's totally okay. All right, so let's move on to our next tool. Our next tool comes from a friend, and his name is Rand Fishkin. And he used to, he founded Moz years ago and he sold Moz. And so now he and his business partner have gone on to create SparkTuro. Let me get that one up. And the tool that I want to talk to you about on SparkTuro, let's get the screen share going. Wait a minute, hang on. Let me get to the resource that I want you to see. And it's the tools. Free tools. They have free tools. Of course, they have paid tools as well, but I wanted to make sure I show you these free tools they have on SparkTuro, because a lot of people are concerned about fake followers on Twitter. So you can give yourself a fake follower audit, and you can give anybody, any Twitter user that you see them and you say, wow, they've got all these followers. I wonder how many of them are fake. You can do, it's kind of, it gives you just a little bit of an insight about someone's Twitter following. But what I want you to take away from this about fake followers is that really fake followers don't really hurt you. they may make your numbers look a little inflated. And I know someone mentioned to me that they bought a tool, they pay for a tool to remove all of their fake followers. Now, to me, I wouldn't go that far because now you're paying for your follower count to go down. I mean, there's fake accounts on Twitter. I think everybody in the world should know that by now. There's not a lot of them. It doesn't prevent you from building community and connecting with your audience. Okay. So let the fakes be out there. It's good to know. It's good to come in here. This is a free tool. Give yourself an audit just for fun or just to share with others and say, oh, wow, I've got this many fake followers. So let's just go in here and do it. But what I don't want you to do is to take that a step further and pay for a tool to get rid of those fake followers. Don't do it. I don't want you to waste your money. All right, so here we go. Let's just see what my account is, what the audit on my account. Now, I think it takes a while. So you know what? I'm going to come back to that. We'll look at that again later. Oh, nope, it's done. All right, so I have 14.5%, meaning out of my 15,800 odd followers, 2,000 of them are fake. Okay, and so here it puts on a graph. There you can see that there. Doesn't bother me. I'm not going to do it and take any action. I just think that it's also cool that you get to see this follower quality distribution. You've got an average quality and then you've got high quality. All right, so that's great. And you can come down here and see descriptions and explanations of all this stuff. And you get a score as well. So very cool tool for you to check out. And it's SparkToro. And they do have other tools built in SparkToro as well even on the free, at the free level. Okay. So I want you to check that one out. So now here's another one that will help you with finding where your Twitter followers live. And let me put this link. It gives you a few insights about your Twitter followers, but in particular, I wanted to mention where they live. And so this one's called Tweeps Map. Tweeps Map. All right. So let's just log in. Pretty sure I shared mine the other day. So, so here you go. They do want you to give them your email and stuff. And so here it tells me, and I can share this out on Twitter. Let me make sure you're seeing everything. Yeah, you are. Let me zoom in a bit, make it a little bit bigger. All right. So I can share this out because it tells you how many are in the US, and it looks like India is next. And then I can tweet that if I want. But also, like I said, I can go in here and by country, I could do it by state, I could do it by city. And which I was surprised when I looked at the US because I'm in Philadelphia. I think most of you all know that. My regular subscribers know I'm always talking about Philly. But, there's a lot of my followers who are in New York and, on the West Coast. Of course, they're all over. But it's very cool to see. I need to step up my game over there in North Dakota, don't I? All right. So I just wanted you to see this is another handy tool that just gives you an idea of where your followers are. And you can come in here and find out some of the other tools that they have that can help you become a Twitter power user. All right. So let me just make sure I put that in the chat. Yes, I did. Okay. So let's This one is really cool. A lot of times you want to share a tweet, let's say in a blog post or even on in a YouTube video. If someone tweeted and said something really wonderful about me, or they asked a question that I was going to address in a video, and I just want a nice looking way to take a screenshot. And that's when I would go to Screenshot Guru. And it's actually screenshot dot guru. Okay, so let's take a look. All right. And so let's get a Twitter URL. I'll have to come over here and get one. And let's grab the one when I tweeted out the stream. And so if, when you're doing a video or something like that, then it just turns it into a still image. Well, you'll see exactly what it looks like. Oh, this is how it collapsed it down. But here you go. So here is the screenshot. Now, I probably wouldn't post this one. So let's do another one. And I also want you to see, as a matter of fact, let me just go over to Twitter because I want you to see that once you install the extension, let's go to my profile because I don't want to be sharing somebody else's stuff. Let's do this particular tweet here. Okay, when I do my daily comms, that's my meditation app that I use. And notice, and I'm hovering here, I don't know how hard it is for you to see that, but there is a little icon right next to the timestamp. There's a little camera icon. And because I have the Chrome extension installed, let's make sure you can see what's going on here. Now it opens up and I can see this image here. Very, very nice. And so all I need to do is shortcut click or right click on that, and I can save that image or copy it and so forth. And then I can use it on another platform. I can use it in my newsletter. I can use it. Let me come back over here. Oh, hey, Angelina, how are you? Oh, and I'm sorry, I just see your comments coming in. Let's start with the first one that came in. First, let me just get rid of that screen share. Howdy, just signed in, catching up. Okay, great. All right. And also Savage Scientist Programming is here. And my girl Angelina. Hello. Thanks so much for popping in, guys. And so I was just sharing some of my little Twitter tools that can help you become a Twitter power user, because I don't want you to miss out on the opportunities that can be available to you through Twitter. Okay. And, Twitter is to the point of having 330 million users now. So, yeah. And it's a fun, quick platform to use. And so for those that just got here, or even if you're watching this in a replay, you'll be able to find links to all these tools that I'm sharing today. They're in the chat, or they'll be in the description of the video. And hello, good morning, happy blessed Sunday, and good morning everyone from USA live stream. Okay, so the next tool on my list to share. Now this is a tool, but I'm going to tell you that what I'm sharing is not the actual tool, although I think the tool is cool as well. But I'm going to post in a link in the chat. And this tool is called Fury. But what I'm recommending is to sign up to their newsletter, Hype Fury, and I'll show you why. Okay. And okay, let me get that screen share up. So the Hype Fury is a tool that you can use to grow your Twitter following. Now, the other apps that I mentioned here were just about really, navigating through Twitter and cool things that you can do. But this Hype Fury growth notes they're going to give you examples of tweets that have done really well. They're going to give you examples of the formatting that people have used for creating Twitter threads, which has been just all the rage now. I got to be honest with y'all. Twitter threads was never really like something that I was really into. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. Dr. Geneva speaks. Hello, Dr. Geneva. Thank you so much for joining. But people love and swear by the power of Twitter threads. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's almost like someone is creating a blog post on Twitter. They post an update, and then there's a little icon that lets them keep adding on to that update. And some people have these really long threads that are, like I said, it's like a mini blog post, and people love them. So Hype Fury will show you some examples of some really successful threads, and you'll get that email every week and along with other Twitter tips that they share. But you can also check out the tool Hype Fury, but my link for that is in the description, and that's Ileane.link/Hype Fury. So I'm just going to put that up on screen too, so you can see that. And I got to take a little sip. Okay, so hopefully you didn't hear when I cleared my throat just then. All right, so the next tool that I want to share with you, just talking about those Twitter threads, what I wanted to make sure is that you have a way to create the Twitter threads. Okay. And so here we go. This one is called Typefully. 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 I'm going to post that. Take this one down. I'm going to post this one. And it's going to give you a way to, they've got all kinds of tools in here, and, you can get started with it for free, but you can build these Twitter threads that are so powerful. And, you can come over here and read the descriptions of all the awesome things that this tool provides. And then, they give some examples of some of the successful creators, Twitter power users that are using the tool. And you see there's Chris Messina. He's the fellow that invented the hashtag, or shall I say, introduced the idea of the hashtag. And so they've got some really amazing folks that are endorsing this tool. And I also saw it, I believe, on Product Hunt as well. Okay. All right. So now with that, I do want to share that Twitter has something that they call a developer toolbox. Twitter has their own developer toolbox. And in this toolbox, it's recommending some apps, because I originally said that I wasn't really going to cover the scheduling apps, but I do see that my favorite scheduling tool is on this list. So I'm just going to give the folks a shout out at Buffer. And so they This is the Twitter developer platform. Elevate your Twitter experience, discover ready to use tools to make the most of Twitter. And this is a place where we could come in and find some of these other tools. So, Buffer is my scheduling tool of choice. Of course, like I said earlier, there's tons of them out there. I like Buffer, it works for my needs. But another one I will give a shout out to is Agora Pulse, but I noticed that they're not on here, and I'm not sure why. But anyway, I talked about creating those Twitter threads. So here's two apps here that you can use to create Twitter threads: the Chair app, and also this one is for reading Twitter threads, but I do believe on the paid level, it's called Threadreader. You can go into this toolbox and check these out and all the different offerings. But I do know you can use Buffer for free. But if you've got more, multiple accounts and multiple platforms you want to share to, then that's when you start paying on Buffer. Then they've got moderation tools if you need to block people and things like that. And they've got measurement tools. And the one I talked about earlier was Tweeps Map. But then they've got a few others here that I have not explored. So I'm not going to say yay or nay either way. All right. So let me just, still got a little frogginess here. Okay, so now you probably know that I'm a huge fan of Twitter Spaces. And there is one tool that I highly recommend for Twitter Spaces, and that's the Spaces dashboard. And I'll just show you what my Spaces dashboard page looks like. And that's a link that I'm going to share here. So, and if you're not familiar with Twitter Spaces is social audio. So think about Clubhouse and the things that Clubhouse brought to the table. And this is the Twitter's version of it. And what's incredible about Twitter Spaces is that they have all these amazing communities that are coming together around different topics. And when I'm using the word communities, I also want to mention that Twitter has a feature called Twitter Communities. But when it comes to Twitter Spaces, it's great that you can start up a community and start talking about a topic that you are familiar with and bring in others so you can have their voices shared. All right, so I've got a question here from Dr. Geneva. And she says, I'm on Twitter, but not really active. What are the benefits of Twitter in comparison to IG and LinkedIn? Okay, great. And so I kind of talked about that at the very beginning of this because I know that that's what people are, I didn't really compare it that much to other platforms, but I will. I'm glad you asked that question. So, first of all, Twitter is fast and easy to use. Okay. So you don't have to worry about collecting a bunch of hashtags like you would on Instagram. You can promote your content in every single tweet if you want. The links are clickable. Okay. Can't do that on on Instagram, and it's kind of not great etiquette on LinkedIn. But Twitter is a great place to grow community. And the other thing is about Twitter that is really a mainstream platform. For example, you're probably, if you watch the news, probably in the last week or maybe even today, you saw something that was shared on Twitter being mentioned. because there's especially celebrities, celebrity tweet something and, they will just put that up and and they do that on Instagram as well. I never see them do that on LinkedIn, to be honest with you. But because Twitter is a place that it's easy for them to grab, and almost every mainstream outlet when it comes to news is on Twitter, has a presence on Twitter. So that's one of the reasons why I like to check Twitter every day. It's one of the first social places that I go is for news, and so you cannot depend on Instagram for news. And sometimes I got to say the news on Twitter can be a little too much toward the celebrities, that I'm not that interested in. But however, I know that that's what popular topic is out there. So, Twitter is more, like I said, it's easier to use and it's more accessible in that sense than say like an Instagram. Okay. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't use Instagram or don't use LinkedIn. I would never say that. However, I rarely use Instagram just because, as creators, we have to be mindful of our bandwidth and, how much we can be on all these different platforms. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that, folks know, because Twitter is also a great place to monetize your content. Everybody has access to the Twitter tip jar. You can also get super followers, which I'm eligible for super followers on Twitter. And speaking of Twitter Spaces, you can also apply for eligibility to ticketed spaces, which I've done, and I've been accepted to that as well. So, yeah, so Twitter has lots of benefits. And so I hope that you check it out. And I just think that, especially if you are a YouTuber, even, and if you're a blogger, it's a no brainer. Like, don't even think about being a blogger and not being on Twitter because you want to post every time you put out a new blog post and you want to be able to go back into your archives and post. And so it's just made so easy because there are so many tools and so many integrations with Twitter. So yeah, I can go on and on and on about Twitter all day long. So thank you so much, Dr. Geneva, for asking, because you made me think of things that I forgot to include in today's agenda. So let's go back to what I was talking about, which was Twitter Spaces and the Spaces dashboard. So I just want to take you for a quick tour. I've talked about this. I have a whole video, which I will add a link here about using Twitter Spaces. And so I talked about the Spaces dashboard in that video, but here I just want to give you a little bit more. If you want to use social audio, here is where you see the spaces that are live now. You see who's hosting the space. You see some of the profile pics of some of the folks that are speakers in the space. How many participants? In this case, there's 1,298. This is the link to go and view the space. You can listen to Twitter Spaces on desktop now. I'm not sure if you all know that, and you can also create clips on desktop. So these tools are handy. Now you can't participate yet from desktop, but I heard that they're working on that. So then we've got upcoming spaces. And so Andrew Lyons has put this Twitter Spaces dashboard. It's called Spaces Dashboard. And he's put this together and working with the Twitter team and the API on Twitter. And here's some of the featured users here. And a couple of folks that I do want to give a quick shout out to. Ileane. I'm always attending his Twitter Spaces whenever I get a chance. He's a Twitter geek like myself. And then Bobby Bicker, she's an artist, an amazing multidimensional artist. She does all kinds of art, and she does a lot of Twitter spaces where she's done music, she's painting, or, you know, all kinds of creative, truly creative things on Bobby Bicker's spaces. So you can come over here and see who else. You'll see who's on the leaderboard. And so this one here has 233 32,000 participants. I know that's probably kind of small, so that's why I said, yeah, 232,000 participants. This happened, I'm sorry, back on August the 8th. It's not live right this moment, but this is where the leaderboard is, and you get to filter it down by languages because, you know, Twitter is so international. All right, and then you can search for something, and then you can also add a space. Let's say you have really not used Twitter spaces that much, and so, you know, you want to make sure it gets picked up by this algorithm, so you would just bring your URL over here. And Dr. Geneva said, awesome response. Great information as usual. Are you available for coaching on getting better on Twitter? Oh, you know what? I did start something, and I usually don't, to be honest with you, but I started something as a result of someone that I met on Twitter Spaces. And let me just make sure I have the right link before I share it. And it's my Day Slice page. There it is. Excuse me. Day Slice is a link that I will post in the chat. And I do have. Now, I be honest with you, when you go in there, you can book in my calendar, but I keep weird hours, just so you'll know. I keep very weird hours. So, but at least they're on there. And so you can book to ask me anything. And Twitter is included as one of those anythings. So, yeah, that would be cool. There you go. And I didn't screen share it. So here you go. So this is one of the cool things about Twitter. You get to meet and actually talk to the founders. And my friend Hosseline Mane, I mentioned, I'm always in his spaces because one of the spaces that he holds is called Monetize Monday. And he also has a community on Twitter, and it's the creator community. And so one of the times we were talking about the Calendly and things like that. And then one of the participants, one of the speakers, her name is Dr. J, she brought up that Day Slice reached out to her. So we got a discount for using Day Slice just by being in the space at that time. And the founder came in, and she's since come in again and talked to us about the offerings that they have at Day Slice. It's a competitor for Calendly, but I think it does a lot more. And personally, I never used Calendly for myself, but this Day Slice is really cool. So you can check out mine and let me know if you are interested in creating one for yourself. And okay, so one more tool that I want to show you for Twitter Spaces, and that is Flowgen. Because I didn't talk about Flowgen before, I want to make sure that I talk about this now because nope, that copy and paste didn't work. Hang on. See if it gave me too many L's. And I'll put up what my Flowgen page looks like. And this is also a mobile app because, you know, Twitter had kind of gone back and forth about keeping the recordings of your spaces, but now, you know, Twitter is keeping the recordings, but in the meantime, this app called Flogen came about, and it is another way that you can download your recordings, because even though your recordings are still available inside of Twitter permanently, downloading that in order to get it on your podcast or repurposing that content in some way is not easy. I guess Twitter is working on making it easier, but right now you can sign up for Flogen, and that's Flowjin. All right. Sign up for this, and it's free right now. And it will, whenever you go live in a Twitter space, if you're the host, it will capture it. And then you can just come over here after, it's processed and whatnot, maybe 20 minutes or so. And you can download that. And then that way you can upload it to your podcast. Oh my goodness. Long time no see. Hey, hey, happy Sunday. Thank you. Thank you. You did an elbow cough, so I hope you're feeling okay. Just want to make sure. Just check in and let me know if you feel all right. Okay, so there you have it. I want you all to think about using Twitter, think about the power of using a Twitter Spaces. And what the other thing that I want you to do, if you're not already following me on Twitter, which I mean, like, why not? Why would you not be following me? I'm going to put my link in the chat. But here's what I want you to do. If you're already following me on Twitter, make sure you add me to one of your Twitter lists. You can add me to a list for social media or YouTube or for podcasting, social audio, whatever Twitter list that you have that you think I would be a good fit for, add me to your list. And then that way, because sometimes when you come into Twitter, that's what you want to do. You just want to go to your Twitter list and see, depending upon how you've got your list set up, you just want to see what the folks who are tweeting about a specific topic. And, let me do a quick recap on that, because you may not be familiar with these Twitter lists. So let's just go over here to my Twitter. And when you're on Twitter, you would click on these three dots and make sure those three dots aren't behind my head. Okay, no, they're not. You click on those three dots and it brings up additional menu. And the first option there is lists. So it will recommend some lists for you, but then you scroll past those and you'll see the list that you've generated. Now, some of the lists that I've generated, I don't tap into them that much. But if I wanted to, like, for example, here's this one for social tools. Now, what I would do is I could go down here, and if I just wanted to see what are the social tools talking about. And most of the folks that I have in here is, if it's not the actual tool, it's one of the people that work for the tool. But I know what I would do is, like I mentioned, Day Slice. All right, so I would go to Day Slice, and I believe it's Day Slice HQ. Yeah. So now I want to add them to a Twitter list. So I'm on their profile. You see the three dots. Three dots is always where the magic is, right? And then I would add them to a list. So I would go down here, scroll down to social tools. So there you have it. And yeah, and so you see they retweeted me. That's really cool, right? And so, yeah, that was my question. What is Twitter lists? Thanks for sharing update on Twitter apps. You're welcome, Barb. Yeah. And yes, that's what a Twitter list is. And so this is a great way. Like, just say, for example, Dr. Geneva, because I know that you're into LinkedIn. All right. I'll use LinkedIn because I think that will be the easiest. A lot of times people who are on Instagram are not on LinkedIn, but Twitter is actually integrated within LinkedIn. You can share your post to Twitter. Can't share them to Instagram, but you can share your LinkedIn post on on Twitter, right? So you might want to create a Twitter list of LinkedIn peeps or LinkedIn influencers or whatever, or your LinkedIn friends. You can make your list private, or if you make it public, that means anybody can follow it. So let's just say you wanted to create a list of uh, LinkedIn gurus. You can add yourself to that list. Now, I just use LinkedIn, but I know you talk about empowerment and leadership and things like that. So you can make yourself a list of empowering people or whatever you want to call it. You can name it whatever. You do have to give it a name and add yourself to that list as well. So, because what happens, here's the magic also of lists. Say you're trying to get someone's attention. All right. The first thing you can do is follow them. Guess what? They'll get a notification. They will see a notification that you followed them. 5 minutes later, day later, however you want to do it, you add them to a list. Guess what they get? Another notification. Day later, later that afternoon, do it whenever you want. You share one of their tweets, or you comment or engage some way with their tweets. Now they're going to notice you because they saw that you followed them. They saw that you added them to a list. But and even if they didn't, they're going to know if you start talking to them, you start engaging with them, and say, of course, I know, say something insightful. You don't just say hi or yeah, you're right. You want to add something to the conversation or ask an insightful question and get that dialogue going. It's so easy to do on Twitter. You can do it on Instagram, but you got to go into the DMs. And you can do it on LinkedIn much more easily as well as Twitter. But, it just all depends upon that person and which inbox they're probably paying the most attention to. Okay. So I hope that has been helpful. And, there's a lot of podcasts that are talking about Twitter and all the updates. And I'm feeling much more confident about talking about Twitter. Some of these things I had in the back burner because I wasn't sure about that acquisition. And, it still remains to be seen. There may be someone else or some other entity that tries to acquire Twitter. But the thing that I liked the most was at one point, the Twitter employees, I think the morale was down a little. And then they were also kind of like, should we be developing this? But now they are like putting out updates all the time, bringing more and more tools. And they are really focused on creators. They got a creator community. And, you can sign up for all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, love it. You're right. Easier. Never realized. Thanks, Dr. Geneva. Yeah. And this is what my goal is. Just to open your eyes to opportunities. And so I don't want you to say, wow, how come she never told me why she uses Twitter? Yeah. Today, I'm telling you, these are the reasons why I use Twitter. And even if you don't start being active next week, the seed is planted. And you're going to, the next week or so, when you start watching the news and you're going to say, oh, yep, there's a tweet on the news. Oh, yep, I just heard them say so-and-so tweeted something. Yeah, because it's a powerful Search engine. I forgot to mention that. Twitter has a search engine that can help you find people that you're looking for. And I think I need to save that for a whole nother video, but I'm just going to do something really quickly. Just do something really quickly. So let's just say I'm going to go in here and say LinkedIn. I'm just going to type in LinkedIn. Okay. So, there's going to be all kinds of things that'll come up with about LinkedIn. But here's the goal. See this over here? Advanced search. Advanced search. So now I can search by these words. LinkedIn gurus. Not that I will ever search for that, but just so you'll know, right? And this exact phrase. And any of these words, it could be like the examples beneath each one. They give you example. You could contains either cats or dogs or both, right? Or none of these words. So what if I wanted to search for LinkedIn, but I wanted to make sure I didn't get LinkedIn gurus, right? Or I can search by hashtags because hashtags is a big deal on Twitter before it even came to Instagram, right? And then I can switch the language, make sure I'm only looking for English. Or let's just say, like I was talking about earlier, this is powerful. And like I said, I probably should save this for its own video, but since you all are here, this is powerful. If you're trying to connect with someone, or you have a couple of people that you're like, I'm really got my eye on these people, and they're on Twitter. I wonder what's going on. Or you're not sure if they're on Twitter. You can search to see from the specific accounts. It could even be brands that you're trying to get business with. You can look for tweets about LinkedIn from, I don't know, let's just say Oscar Mayer. I don't know why that popped to mind, or Coca-Cola. All right. To these accounts. So they could be having conversations from these accounts to these accounts, mentioning these accounts. This is how advanced Twitter's search is. OMG. And then you can come over here and see all the other parameters that it gives you in Twitter's advanced search. It is amazing. And I'm going to give you the direct link to it because actually it's not easy to find until you do a search. You do a regular old search. I'll just do it real quick one more time. And this time I'm going to just say YouTubers. And after you do the search, now you see the advanced search option. Okay. You won't see that until you do a search. Okay. So, wow. I almost forgot about some of these things. And that's another thing that I love about Twitter. There is so much to it. And this is why I wanted to just like introduce some things to just get you started. That's why I started with, and because some of you weren't here, I'm just going to go back to this one because I think this one is really cool. And it's super simple for somebody who just doesn't know how to get started. And that is what to tweet. Then this is a free tool. There's tons of tools out here that tell you what to tweet, right? But this is just a free little website. And it says, comment on recent developments. That's a tweet you can make. You can say, boy, I sure wish they would get rid of all the student loan debt. I'm just using an example. People, don't come at me. And then you can show an example. So now this is someone who is creating threads. And it's a thread because it starts off with 1 and a slash. That means there's more to come on that, right? So let's just go to another one. Tell a revealing story. And you don't really need to look at the examples. Just go through these prompts. Share an observation. Share a passage. Okay. So you've always got something to tweet about. And so those links will be in the description, but they're also in the chat. And so Start off with, baby steps of using Twitter because it's a powerful network and it's also very awesome for building community. You get to know people on Twitter. I posted a I posted something about my beloved grandson. Posted some pictures of him, and I don't post about him all the time, but I just felt like posting about him. Where is it? And I got a bunch of likes, and I'll show you. Oh, yeah, I'll show you. I don't need to be on screen. And, I was on FaceTime with my daughter and my grandson. And on FaceTime, you can take screenshots. And so I just took screenshot. They were going out to the car to get something. And so that's why the angle is the way it is. It wasn't like, we actually took a picture of him like that. And then this is one of his things that he loves to do here when he's playing with his cars and his trains, trucks, or whatever. He always puts them on top of each other. I say he stacks them. So I just put, I'm glad my grandson Joseph is growing up surrounded by palm trees, blue skies, and every toy his heart desires. By the way, he loves to stack cars on top of cars, or trains, or bowls of oatmeal. And I got a bunch of people, coming in and saying, in fact, I was talking about the tool called Hype Fury. Here's Yannick from Hype Fury, one of the founders of this tool. He comes in and he even leaves a comment. My friend Erica from Simplistically, just a bunch of my friends have come in and commented on this. And someone talked about how he's got piano player hands. And I said, no, he likes the drums, but you never know. Maybe he's got piano in his future. My old time friend, Ryan Bidoff, who I've known since I joined social media in 2009, he came in, so it's just a super cool way to build community. And even though I know you can do that on some of these other platforms, it's a different kind of atmosphere. And so I wanted to introduce it to you. And so dive in and check it out. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay beautiful.